Good evening, barflies and lounge lizards, and welcome to the Atomic Snack Bar. I'm your host, Mr. R. Sterling. And tonight we'll be discussing 5 more retro post-apocalypse films. This is the third part in the series, but if you haven't seen the other 2, you're probably better off. But they can be watched in any order. And number 5 on the list is Hell Comes to Frogtown from 1988. Directed by Donald G. Jackson of Lingerie Kickboxer and the Rollerblade 7 fame, as well as co-director R.J. Kaiser, who shot the American footage of Godzilla 1985, Hell Comes to Frogtown is a sci-fi action film released by New World Pictures. Based on a true story, it tells the story of a post-apocalyptic future where much of the Earth is a wasteland. Most humans have been rendered sterile and a race of humanoid amphibians have come into prominence, much like my neighborhood. When the mutant amphibians take a group of fertile women hostage, one of the last remaining non-sterile men is sent into the mutant Badlands, aka Frogtown, in order to save and do other things for the ladies. I often joke on this channel about this person or that person being studly, but in this case, our lead Sam Hell is actually a stud. And the film stars legendary pro wrestling heel and genre film favorite Roddy Piper. Piper also appeared in They Live, Body Slam, and TV shows like Highlander and RoboCop. Then we have Sandahl Bergman in a rather shocking role as a nurse accompanying our hero. And that joke is almost funny if you've seen the film. Bergman is probably no stranger to patrons of the snack bar, having appeared in She from 1984, Conan the Barbarian, and Red Sonja. She was initially offered the title role of Sonja in said film, but turned it down, choosing to play the villain instead. Imagine how different a film that would have been had she played Sonja. Also in Hell Comes to Frogtown we have William Smith, also of Conan the Barbarian, Western star Rory Calhoun, and Nicholas Worth of Swamp Thing and Action Jackson. Director Donald G. Jackson wrote the screenplay for the film alongside Randall Frakes, who is a writer and visual effects artist who worked on Escape from New York and Battle Beyond the Stars. When Jackson pitched Frogtown to New World Pictures, he described it as the Road Warrior meets Planet of the Apes. New World agreed to finance the film, but they wanted Kaiser to co-direct and a bigger star to play the nurse role, the choices being Sybil Danning and Sandahl Bergman. Something of note about the film is the fantastic amphibian effects which came courtesy of special effects artist Steve Wong. Wong was also a director and co-directed the first Guyver film and fully directed the sequel. And yeah, I've mentioned that before, several times in fact, but I just like talking about the Guyver. But hey, exposure to Guyver-related trivia is right there in the snack bar terms of service in the section about ninja attacks. And finally, Hell Comes to Frogtown would go on to receive 2 sequels. And number 4 on the list is Beyond the Time Barrier from 1960. Directed by Edward G. Ulmer of Detour and the Man from Planet X fame, Beyond the Time Barrier is a post-apocalypse film with time travel elements, released by AIP. And it tells the story of an Air Force test pilot testing out a new experimental aircraft. Something goes wrong and he soon finds himself in the dystopian future year of 2024. But our pilot is captured and taken to an underground city containing the last remains of civilization. And it just gets worse for our buddy here, for nearly everyone there is deaf and mute, and there's a small little mutant problem to deal with. This is one of those films that feel like a movie-length episode of The Outer Limits or The Twilight Zone. Now these topless episodes aren't really reviews, heck they're barely even rankings, but this is a true hidden gem. It has one of the most unique causes of an apocalypse that I've ever seen in a film, but I won't spoil it for you. Not to mention that the facial hair game in this one is very strong. A purely objective opinion, I assure you. The film stars genre legend Robert Clark, who you probably know best from The Hideous Sun Demon, The Astounding She-Monster, and The Man from Planet X. It's also worth noting, considering I've noted it before, that Clark is the father of voice actor Cam Clark. And if you grew up in the 1980s, you definitely know Cam's work, which includes Leonardo from Ninja Turtles and Kaneda from the original dub of Akira. Talk about one of the most iconic screams in animation history. Then we have Darlene Tompkins as our female lead, a deaf-mute psychic and the love interest. Tompkins didn't do anything else in the realm of sci-fi, but she was in Blue Hawaii with Elvis, so I'll let her lack of sci-fi slide there. It's a shame though, she was quite the comely lass. Next we have John Van Drelen of 13 Ghosts and Vladimir Sokolov of I Was a Teenage Werewolf and Monster from Green Hell. Beyond the Time Barrier was released in September of 1960 on a double bill with The Angry Red Planet. It was produced by Robert Clark, who supposedly wanted a rest after directing, co-writing, and starring in The Hideous Sun Demon. He chose Ulmer to direct, whom he had worked with on The Man from Planet X. The screenplay was written by writer and director Arthur C. Pierce, who wrote a whole bunch of notable stuff including Destination Inner Space, The Navy vs. the Night Monsters, and Mutiny in Outer Space that he also directed. Pierce played one of the mutants as well. AIP released the film just 1 month before George Powell's The Time Machine, and this was purely a coincidence. And the mutant makeup in the film was done by the great Jack Pierce. And number 3 on the list is Endgame from 1983. Directed, co-written, and produced by a personal favorite of mine, the great Joe D'Amato of a whole bunch of Emmanuel films and several of the Ator films, Endgame is a post-apocalypse film that takes place in the future year of 2025. New York has been devastated by nuclear war, but the city is not abandoned. It's now home for scavengers and telepathic mutants, not to mention a TV show known as Endgame where warriors battle within the ruined city. But that all changes when a disenchanted former Endgame star decides to lead a group of mutants out of the city into safety. And I'm sure that had nothing at all to do with the mutant leader. The film stars exploitation film star Al Cleaver. Cleaver has numerous memorable roles, but is probably best known for the Fulci classics Zombie 2 and The Beyond. But he was also in 2020 Texas Gladiators and the underrated sword and sorcery film Hearts and Armor. For a few years in the 70s, he was married to Annie Bell of Black Emmanuel, White Emmanuel fame. Next up we have my favorite actress and the focus of one of my largest focused DVD and Blu-ray collections, Laura Gemser. Gemser was a model and actress who is best known for the Black Emmanuel film series, which is all kinds of not work safe. But she did do some mainstream work. She was in the 1982 film Love is Forever, starring alongside Michael Landon. The film, which was based on a true story, really showed off her acting chops. Though I would argue, and probably will, that she did some darn fine acting in the Emmanuel films as well. And finally, I wanted to mention another exploitation film favorite, the always groovy George Eastman. I mean really, Cleaver, Gemser, and Eastman? That's a cast right there. But Eastman also appeared in 1990 The Bronx Warriors, The Barbarians, and Emmanuel Around the World. Standing at an impressive 6'9", he played the heavy in quite a few westerns as well. This is another hidden gem of the genre. It's a wacky little movie that I would have enjoyed even if Laura hadn't been in it. And hey, there's a ninja in it too. And much like Orson Welles used to always say, everything is better with a ninja in it. Fact. Joe D'Amato did this one under the name Stephen Benson. And supposedly, and this is yet another big supposedly because I could not confirm it anywhere, but supposedly D'Amato said that this was his favorite film that he ever made. But that makes sense. Who wouldn't be proud of that fish-faced Ernest Borgnine mutant? Or just fish-faced mutants in general. On that, we should take a break.
They're coming to Universal Studios. Captain Power and the Soldiers of the Future, leaders of the rebellion against the evil Lord Dread. You can meet them all in person. You can have your picture taken. And if you have the courage, you can confront Lord Dread eye to eye. The first 1,000 kids aged 3 to 11 to buy admission get a free action figure. The rest get a free poster. Captain Power and the Soldiers of the Future, December 19th through January 3rd, live at Universal Studios.
ファミリーコンピュータゲーム北斗の拳2パワーアップした北斗神拳に君は勝てるか北斗の拳24月17日新発売
And we're back with number 2 on the list, and that's Six String Samurai from 1998. Directed by Lance Mungia, who other than this film is mostly known for music videos, Six String Samurai is a quirky post-apocalyptic action film. And it tells the story of an alternate 1997 where 40 years earlier, war with the Soviet Union has devastated the United States. One of the last strongholds of civilization is the former Las Vegas, now known as Lost Vegas. Its ruler, the king himself, Elvis Aaron Presley, has passed away, and call is sent out across the nation for a new king to rise. And thus Buddy, a lone figure who may or may not be Buddy Holly, travels across the wasteland to claim the throne. But unfortunately, the rock and roll Grim Reaper also has his sights set on that very same goal. This is one that was recommended to me by a viewer, and let me say, this one is one of the most me-friendly movies ever made. The only reason it's not number one on the list is because the sidekick kid is rather annoying. Other than that, this one is top shelf R. Sterling style wackiness. The film stars Jeffrey Falcon as Buddy. Falcon, even his name is cool, was an actor and martial artist skilled in both Taekwondo and Kung Fu, and was a member of the US Wushu team. He began his film career in Hong Kong cinema. He was living in Taiwan, teaching both English and martial arts, when he was discovered by Jackie Chan. Some of his other notable roles include The Inspector Wears Skirts and Outlaw Brothers. Then as the voice of our rock and roll reaper, Death himself, we had prolific voice actor Lex Lang. Lang has quite the resume and did voices for cartoons, anime, film, and video games. But most importantly, and this is backed by science, you cannot argue with it or people will think you're a pod person, but Lex was the voice of Kenshiro in the unfortunately unfinished dub of Fist of the North Star, which just happens to be my all-time favorite anime series. Which coincidentally also has a post-apocalyptic setting. And I know what you're thinking. Rob, you magnificent bastard with a heart of golden donuts. That's some fine YouTubing right there. I won't argue. You are just too correct. But back to Six String Samurai. Falcon not only starred in the film but also co-wrote it. And it's said that he did all his own stunts. And it has a killer soundtrack by Brian Tyler of Bubba Hotep fame and surf rock band The Red Elvises. And since there isn't much about this one, let's end on a supposedly that states that this was intended to be the first of a trilogy. Either way, great film. And now it's time for an honorable mention. And it's not a film this time, but my latest book, which is a quirky and weird post-apocalyptic sci-fi collection with aliens, a luchadora, a gunslinging clown, and a country and western duo made up of a Sasquatch and a Chupacabra. And of course, there's a whole bunch of robots. At the moment, it's available only in paperback, but you can get it domestically in several different countries, including the US, Canada, the UK, and Australia. Link in the description below. And number one on the list is Logans Run from 1976. Directed by Michael Anderson of Around the World in 80 Days and The Martian Chronicles, Logan's Run is, quite frankly, one of the best sci-fi films of the 1970s. And it tells the story of a seemingly utopian society where the remnants of humanity live within a sealed city. Turns out, not so utopian, because when anyone reaches the age of 30, they are forced to drink a whole bunch of fizzy lifting drink and then it's night-night forever, with a supposed chance at rebirth. Those who aren't too keen on spandex and try to flee the city are known as runners. And to track down the runners, we have an elite team of hunters known as Sandmen. And the film focuses on one particular Sandman, Logan 5. And I'm going to leave it at that because I don't want to spoil a thing about this one. Let's just say our buddy Logan gets into some stuff. The film stars a gentleman with one of the coolest voices in film history, Michael York as Logan 5. York is a stage and screen actor with credits including The Island of Dr. Moreau, Murder on the Orient Express, and the 1995 version of Not of This Earth. Then we have Jenny Agutter, or Egater, I've heard both, as our female lead. She's probably best known for this one and An American Werewolf in London. But she also did some TV, including The $6 Million Man and the 80s Twilight Zone. I should also mention appearances by Richard Jordan, Farrah Fawcett, and another voice that is oh so smooth, Roscoe Lee Brown, as the voice of Box the Robot. Now, Logan's Run was based on the 1967 novel of the same name by William F. Nolan and George Clayton Johnson. But the novel is quite different than the film in many ways. Just a small example, our lead is called Logan 3 in the book, and the cutoff age is 21. And apparently it took a while to get this project off the ground, even being in the hands of the Time Machine director George Pal at one point. And look at that, right back to the Time Machine. And at another point, AIP expressed interest in purchasing the rights. Initially, William Devane of Rolling Thunder was cast, probably as Logan's rival, but he ended up dropping out. According to the effects artist on the film, L.B. Abbott and Glenn Robinson, the carousel scene was the most difficult one to pull off due to the hidden wires. And when all was said and done, the budget ended up being somewhere between $7 and $9 million, though it was originally estimated at only $3 million. The success of the film would lead to a TV series, but like with so many other sci-fi shows of the 70s, it was soon canceled. It also got a 7-issue comic book series with several issues being drawn by George Perez. And that's all the time we have for this week. Please like, comment, subscribe, watch the skies, and stay atomic.